Frame skip.
Get ready. It's going to be a very, very intense journey.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 86 of the Frame Skip podcast. I am one of your hosts for the evening, Elijah Steele, and with me is, I don't even have nicknames tonight, so Austin Eller.
That's me. I don't have a nickname. I'm just a generic young man on this podcast. How's it going, Elijah?
Such a nice young man. I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there. I'm alive. I'm above the dirt, and I am ready to talk about some video games.
Heckins, yeah. We also have the coach, Kyle Newman.
You know what, guys? I'm above the dirt, too. I'm ready to talk video games.
Hell yeah. You don't even get a Heckins, you get a hell because it's so awesome.
Ooh.
We also have the one and only George Loftus.
Hi.
How are you tonight?
Good. Comic books. I'm good. I'm interviewing one of my favorite authors of all time this week for a short box summary, so
nice.
I'm nervous. I'm excited.
Who is it?
It's this guy named Sean McKeever who wrote a whole bunch of like young adult comics for Marvel. And in fact, Elijah, Austin, the Young Avengers episode is going live tomorrow as we record on Tuesday. And I mentioned a book called Sentinel about like a Iron Giant version story basically that happens in Marvel.
Yeah,
and
I pre-ordered that right after we finished.
Yeah, the guy who wrote that is coming on the show. I'm so excited.
That's awesome.
I'll try not to get too into details to spoil the story for you, but
yeah, please don't.
Yeah, God, big week. It's busy. I'm excited. I'm nervy. Big week.
Everyone, keep an eye out for that. We will plug that podcast again at the end. But tonight we're here to talk video games, and I know there's a game Austin and I have been playing. But before we get into that, George, what have you been playing?
I mentioned it last week on the podcast. I need to talk more about Deep Rock Galactic. That game has taken over my life. I'm in something of a gaming slump right now. And so I've been just talking to friends through this game, Deep Rock Galactic. You play as a dwarf. There's 4 different classes. Each one brings something new. And each level you do, each mission you have is like a procedurally generated cavern that you go into. And there's like probably 6 or 7 different mission types, but it all revolves around you collecting X amount of something. You know, you got to get 200 Morkite. You got to get 6 alien eggs. And then you always have like a secondary objective. And this game is like impossible to beat. Like I looked up a guide. It's supposed to take 500 hours to platinum. Someone on the trophy Reddit list on Reddit just posted like they finally platted it. And it seems like once you sort of like prestige your first class, it gets a little easier and lets you go forward. But man, I cannot stop thinking about this game. It's like a first person shooter with like a little bit of resource, not even management, just resource collection. Like imagine like, you know, when you're just like punching trees in Minecraft, like that's the game. And then there's like waves of spiders and different weird insectoid creatures who come and attack you. And the game is just so stupid and so charming and so funny. But it's also like made me really question my relationship with capitalism because of like the adventures I'm going on. And it's like, why am I buying my own ammo? Why do I have to mine this material called nitra to pay for my own ammunition when like it's in service of my bosses? So it's a really deep game. It makes me think about a lot of things, and it's excellent. I cannot stop talking about this game. It is the dumbest game I've ever played. I am so obsessed with this game. It's the only thing I've played in the last month except for Solitaire on my phone. It's taken over my life. I cannot stop thinking about it.
That's awesome. And even better, it is still currently on PS Plus if you have PS Plus.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's the best thing ever. Also, like, I'm now like a reaffirmed believer in PlayStation Plus. Like, I understand that Game Pass is clearly like a better deal for the consumer. I'm not arguing that. But man, the games that PlayStation has curated like over the past year between this and Zombie Army, like whenever Zombie Army 5 comes out, I'm like pre-ordering that for like day one. Like that is how much the Zombie Army 4 on PlayStation Plus had an effect on me. And like I talked to my friends and like they're all in too. Like we're all buying that game day one.
It's a good month for PlayStation Plus in general too, because you've also got Persona 5 Strikers. Yeah, which is like awesome.
That's like a sequel to Persona 5 though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a Muso, so it's
Okay.
like your Dynasty Warriors, Hyrule Warriors type.
Well, it's not
type
that.
Muso.
It's just like, I should probably play Persona 5 before I play this. But like with my comic book podcast, I'm trying to plant a flag and just move forward. And it's one of those things like, George, are you really going to play Persona 5? You really going to sit down for 120
Well-
hours? I know everyone says you should, but like, are you going to do that, or are you just going to play Persona 5 Strikers? Maybe just do Strikers. Maybe that's your gateway in to caring
Yeah.
more about Persona
That's
5.
true. Or you could spend like 100 hours of your life, get the easiest platinum ever in Persona 5 Royal. Over 100 hours.
Or I could put that 100 hours towards my 500 hours in Deep Rock Galactic. That would be the most, like, I might actually stop playing video games if I get the platinum in Deep Rock Galactic. Like, it seems like that daunting of a trophy list to get. I've played this game for 25 hours, maybe 35 hours, like, over the past month. And, like, I saw someone, like, post some strategy on, like, the Reddit, and I have no idea what it means. And I'm like, wow, when was the last time you were 40 hours into a game and like someone posts like a tip and you're just like, what the hell language are you speaking? Because I don't understand what you just said.
One of these weeks, I'm going to talk about how much I love Omega Force. I'm just some week we were talking about how amazing they are at what they do. Just thinking of Persona 5 Strikers. That's awesome, George. I have it from Plus. I do want to check it out. It seems very interesting. I've had a
Pick a
couple
night.
people.
Pick a night when you're streaming. I got 3 other friends who like playing it, and two of them are engaged. And so like they usually have to tag out. And then I got Fabio, who's like usually down to game whenever. So like one of these nights we'll like pull you in and we'll show you the ropes. We'll guide you through it.
Nice. I'm in. Coach, have you been playing anything?
Well, I'm kind of in the same boat as Jorge over there, where I'm kind of like in a slump because right before Christmas break, I finished the plat for Miles Morales, and then I got the old COVID, and I just since we've been back to school, I just been so focused on catching up, right? Because I missed a full week. But what I did do is I got my office room set up, and that's where gonna have my retro systems. So as I was saying earlier, I bought a 5x4 aspect ratio Dell monitor, and it has HDMI ports on it, so that way I have 3 FPGA systems: NES, Super Nintendo, and Sega Genesis. But I also have the 2 high-end HDMI adapters for the 64 and for the GameCube. So that's where I'll play pretty much most of my retro stuff. So I set that up yesterday and started playing around with Rogue Squadron on the 64.
That's awesome. God, such
Yes.
a good game.
How does it hold up? Because the PC version is rough, but that's like taken over like my mental picture of that game is like how the PC like port is. Is that game like I haven't played an N64 game on an N64 in a minute. How does it compare to the memories of it?
Okay, so here's the thing with this game. On PC, it looks like a sharp N64 game, right? Just like what you would see on Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo 64 online, those games like Banjo-Kazooie, stuff like that, right? But it looks better than normal, but it still, still looks like a little fuzzy at times. But here's the thing. The PC port has a game-breaking bug on it. And it's so frustrating that I remember when Austin told me that he sent me a message when it released on Steam. And I'm like, I don't know. Let's see how this. And basically what it is if you're in, I guess, third-person view, you lose your X-Wing or whatever you're flying is just going to go off into Never Never Land. It's just going to keep going. And what you got to do is you have to press a button to get back into cockpit mode, and then it's just like it's a hassle. So on the N64, of course, you don't have to. So we'll see what happens with if they get old the guys back, Factor 5 to do some stuff
They're too busy creating Netflix for the Switch.
Right. But I guarantee
No, it was
they would
Hulu.
jump.
Netflix still hasn't come out yet.
Well, yes, because they're still creating Netflix for it.
Because you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Netflix for the Switch was delayed a few
Okay.
years, 6 years.
I talk a lot on this podcast and I feel bad, but I just got to get one thing off my chest. When they announced Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was coming to Switch, I thought for sure that meant that they had like a vested interest in reviving old franchises on the Switch. And I thought it was a given that like that Rogue Squadron thing was going to be like 6 months after Ultimate Alliance 3. I thought that was going to be announced. And it's broken my heart that is not the case. I'm devastated.
Well, I'm sure the
that
whole
has
thing
not
with
happened.
Disney and EA, so I'm sure it's tied up there. But now that it's Lucas Games now, I wouldn't be surprised if something happens in the near future.
My only real experience with a Star Wars game on PC is Republic Commando, which sounds all fine and dandy, but it ran at like 600 frames per second. And that was with me turning the frames down to 30. Like it just perpetually ran at like 600 frames per second. And it was completely unplayable.
I had that same exact issue. I could never get it to work on PC because I would boot it up and my mouse, even on the lowest sensitivity, I would move it like an inch. Like,
and it just
not even an inch, like a millimeter, and it would go entirely across the screen.
Yeah.
Even like on my PC mouse settings and the game mouse settings turned all the way down, which I think that was part of like the frame rate stuff. But yeah, I could not get that game to run properly on my computer.
Oh, wow.
I had that issue with good old games too, which also released like a bunch of old Star Wars games, like X-Wing vs. TIE Fighter, Rebel Assault, all that stuff. I just cannot get that stuff to work, and it is infuriating.
I'm starting to think it's just the PC ports of old Star Wars games.
No, what it is, though, the actual issue is they were built for, remember at that time, those were like Pentium. That was the days of just the Pentium 1. So that architecture and all the cores that we have now is totally different. So it has a lot to do with that. And that's why it has that, Rogue Squadron has that bug, is because it's on modern PCs. But if you build like an old Pentium 3, it'll run fine. If you get all the drivers and everything like that, it'll run just fine.
Now, there's a game that Austin and I have been playing a bit too. And it's a game I did not expect to play as much as I have been. I picked it up on Friday. I now have about 17 to 18 hours into Rainbow Six Extraction. I can't stop playing this game.
Dude, it's fantastic. And I've only played a couple hours with Elijah and a friend of the show, Brandon. We only played for probably about 2.5, 3 hours. That's my experience playing the game so far. So Elijah has played a lot more than I have. But it's free on Game Pass. It's free on Game Pass for PC and on Series X. And
also, every new copy of the game comes with 2 buddy passes.
Yeah. So you can play with friends, kind of like A Way Out.
Yeah.
Kind of did that, and I want to say, what was it, Wolfenstein? That co-op.
Oh,
one?
Youngblood.
Something similar. But it's fantastic. Like I love Siege, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I was going into it expecting more Left 4 Dead or Back 4 Blood type gameplay, but no, it is like a stealthy Siege style, like horde zombie style game. And
so,
it is fantastic. I really, really like it.
I basically would say it is a Left 4 Dead light game in its its premise, but it has the gameplay of Rainbow Six Siege. And when I say Left 4 Dead light, I mean there's not like the hordes and hordes of enemies or anything, but there is you have an objective in a location, get to what's basically the safe room, and then load up the next area, and you have an objective there, and then get to the safe room, and then there's a third area and an objective. And it will be random objectives, anything from take samples of nests, or defeat an elite enemy, or capture an enemy, or destroy these spines, or anything like that. It'll just be random every time. And it is very tactical. Like, it is Rainbow Six tactical at its core. And it's just so fun. because it can go from okay to oh no in a matter of moments. And one thing I think the game doesn't do well is it doesn't handle a difficulty balance, because first off, the game is much easier solo. Like, I have a character to level 8, and that character, on the hardest difficulty, I was able to do a mission, complete the first 2 objectives. I failed the third one because the person to extract died, but I was still able to get out of there. On the hardest difficulty, I was able to do that. Saturday and Sunday night, we had such a hard time. Or Saturday, it was me and our friend Brandon. We had such a hard time completing 3 objectives in any map on the easiest difficulty.
Yeah, we probably only did it
A couple times.
I don't know
if that.
how many missions we play, but we probably did all 3 objectives less than half of the amount that we played. So
on the
it's
easiest
tough.
difficulty.
Yeah.
And we're pretty sure that the difficulties are just solo or squad. It doesn't account for there only being 2 members of the team. We think it's just solo and team, because it was super hard for us Saturday night. I don't know if we completed a single 3 objective set, and we played for like 3 hours. But this game is so fun.
What's your experience with Rainbow Six as a franchise? Both of you. Sorry.
I played one of them on Xbox for like an hour at some point, and then I played like an hour of Siege.
Okay, so you're not super involved.
No.
Rainbow Six is one of those series. I played a lot of Ghost Recon. Like, I've played, I think, every single Ghost Recon game pretty much. But I have not played, I guess, except for Breakpoint, which I don't know that I'll ever play. Rainbow Six is the one Tom Clancy series, though, that I've only played a little bit of. However, I played probably at least 100 hours of Siege. I got really into that game. So that's kind of my main experience.
And I definitely want to play more Siege, but I'll do it as soon as that crossplay comes out, which is set to come out early this year.
Gotcha. I'm younger than Coach. Elijah, I think we're about the same age.
We are.
And I'm older than Austin.
You're literally
Austin,
like a month
baby.
older than me.
Oh. It's weird because Rainbow Six was like such an important part of my life. Like, I was first obsessed with the N64 version of Rainbow Six. That game was so hard. It was a first-person tactical shooter, but like you couldn't even see your gun. Like, they couldn't render your gun the same time as rendering like the environment and like enemy AI. And it was a little stripped down compared to the PlayStation version. Like, they showed you like a map of the area before you were to go in, but you couldn't like tactically plan out, but it was like real-time tactics that you could do. And that was the first game I remember like really getting into like the C buttons on the N64, like for movement, and like kind of treating it like a dual stick, like first person shooter. And then it went away for a bit. I got kind of into Rainbow Six 3 on the original Xbox. And then on Xbox 360, Rainbow Six Vegas and Rainbow Six Vegas 2 in particular, those were some of the only video games I played like my first 2 years of college. Like, those games became obsessions. And I remember them announcing Rainbow Six Patriots like my junior year of college. And I was so excited. And then that game quietly became Rainbow Six Siege. And now we get Extraction. Is that what it's called? Which is, for all intents and purposes, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it just seems like a horde mode sort of tacked on to like the engine of Siege, right? Like, where it's like an expansion.
It started as a like mini mode that was like a limited time mode in Siege, and this is just a more fleshed out version of that. So basically it's a spin-off.
All right. What my point is, like, I was so dialed into not the Tom Clancy universe. Like, I could give a crap about Splinter Cell. Like, Conviction was cool, but besides that, I don't care about Splinter Cell. I don't even care about Ghost Recon that much. But man, I really care.
Choose your
about
next
Rainbow
words
Six.
Carefully.
I'm saying, but I really care about Rainbow Six. Like,
all I know is you were going through the titles and you were coming up to the Division, and I was about ready to possibly strangle you through that.
I really cared about the Hawks franchise.
Yo,
Hawks was super fun. Shut up.
It is.
I
Dude,
would
that
play
game's
Hawks so
fantastic.
bad. I have a
Fantastic
back
game.
there.
Yeah, that game's great. And so, like, I really want to try this version of Rainbow Six because I don't care for Siege. Like, that's not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to coordinate with other real people. Like, I kind of want to like prove how smart I am in like a weird, like, because it was more of like a puzzle game, right? Like the old Rainbow Six games. Like, how do you enter a room? How do you handle 12 enemies, all with shotguns at the doors? Like, what do you do to outsmart these people? And it sounds like that's back. Right? Would you say that like the actual like coordination is back and like the big like co-op?
Kind of like it's not going to be like you say where like it has like the number of enemies or that because it's all completely random in this. So it could be you'll enter into this area and then this room will have 3 nests and there's like 3 bloaters hanging around and it's like, well, this just got interesting. Or you could enter that same room next time and there will be no nests, everything's fine.
But I will say though, there is still a lot of strategy to this game.
Oh,
And
gosh, yes.
I know George, you said you weren't like too like keen on Siege just because it's, kind of a PvP. Like it wasn't really the same as the games that came in the past. But what I will tell you, and I guess, did you play Siege at all?
No.
The thing is, I can understand that. However, what I will tell you is that working with people in that game, I think, still does work the way that you're talking about, where you are communicating and with each other, which is different. You're not on your own. You are communicating with other people to figure out what to do. But it's like, hey, I'm going to go over here, plant this bomb. I'm going to start marking people with my drone. I'm going to check out this viewpoint. And, you're kind of communicating that. This is kind of the same in a way, but it's obviously co-op only. There's no PvP. And so I think that makes the experience a lot more interesting. It's the same thing. You pull out your drone, you go and search for enemies and tag them so that everybody else can see them. And, you reinforce walls that might need reinforced when you're like in a tense scenario and they're like breaking down because the Siege engine has this awesome, anything can be destroyed physics engine. It's fantastic.
All right.
To give you
All right, this Friday is a giant snowstorm that's supposed to hit Maine. It's supposed to snow from Friday night through Saturday into Sunday afternoon. We're expecting like 20-something inches. I will wake up early Friday morning. I will race to Walmart. I will get Pokemon Arceus, and I will get Rainbow Six Extraction. And while that's installing, I will be Arceusing.
Also, Rainbow Six Extraction is not a full price title. It's a $40 game.
Okay, ooh,
it's really worth it.
That's pretty convincing, actually.
And again, on Game Pass and completely cross-play.
Yeah.
PC, Xbox,
but George is like me, trophies. I love you, George. Yeah. To give you an idea, last night it was me and friends of the show, Brandon and Craig, and there's this one mission where, I should say this objective in a mission, where you have to destroy these, like, they're called spines. And you have to put bombs on them and then make sure the bombs don't get attacked because they basically have a life bar. What we did, because we found out like through the first couple matches how intense it can be, we worked together. All right, we closed all the doors in the surrounding areas. Get that wall, and that wall. Reinforce them. You keep an eye on that direction. You keep an eye on that direction. I'll keep an eye over here. And then just as enemies came, all right, they got through the wall. I'm going to reinforce it again. And it's basically like, that was kind of like a Left 4 Dead horde type scenario, but using this Rainbow Six tactical thinking. And it was so fun. And just coming out of that scenario right there, I was smiling so much because it was intense and amazing and just a blast.
And I'll just say this, some of my favorite moments so far, kind of going with that kind of tactical, like teamwork style stuff, is there's an objective that you'll get occasionally that's something like, Elijah, correct me, but it's like you have to get samples from certain elite enemies and you cannot kill them or you fail the objective.
Yep.
And so the only way to get them basically is by running up on them. And
you have to be behind them to do what's called a takedown, where you use like a special knife to kill them and take a sample.
So like when Elijah and Brandon and I were playing, a couple of times we did this, and like Elijah and I were like running away from this guy and like luring him away while Brandon was sneaking behind. and running up on him and stabbing him in the back. And it's just like, it's cool stuff like that where I love the way that this game enforces like cooperation and communication.
And it does enough to make it worth your while to play solo as well. Like there are what's called points of interest at each location. You can only do that solo. Those points of interest won't show up in co-op, and it'll just be different things. Like the one was, I think it was in the New York location. There was like, you could see like someone's legs in a bathroom stall, but it was like growing with the mold, and it was a point of interest. And like you click on, it's like it looks like the mold is like incorporating that human into it. What are these aliens up to? And like just different like little lore beats around, because there isn't really a story to this game, but there's like a lore to everything in it, and there's just all that kind of stuff like hanging around, and it's really neat. And that's only if you play solo.
Gotcha.
Yep. So let's play on Friday, George.
Cool. All right. I have a transitory question. Coach has been really quiet. Coach, do you like first person shooters? Like besides Halo, like are you a big like FPS guy?
Yes.
Yeah. Any interest in checking out Rainbow Six?
Right now, no.
Okay.
Because my playtime is so limited. That's not something that I can squeeze in. So
not Rainbow Six, but at some point I do want to go back and play Ghost Recon Future Soldier. I haven't played that one yet.
Oh,
I played.
I love
that.
Is that
the PS3? Is that the PS3 one?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've played both advanced.
I got that one on PS3. Wink.
It's a great game.
So like you're thinking.
Back in 2013, I built my system. My first system I really like built for gaming. I built it so it could play and run Metro Last Light.
Okay.
Yes.
Such a good game.
Are you like a multiplayer guy when it comes to FPSs? Like
it depends. Like if I do, it's more co-op. I enjoy the co-op aspect, like going through when me, Austin, and Elijah were playing Gears together.
So fun.
That was awesome. That was
so
amazing.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, fellas, we are here for another special reason tonight, and that is our 2022 gaming predictions.
Woo!
George, well, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around the room giving a prediction. And yes, around the horn. Man, I'm so excited for the football game this weekend. We're going to go around the horn, and each of us are going to give a gaming prediction. We each brought 5 to the table. Austin, do we have 5 from the other person? Okay, so all 4 of us have 5 predictions to bring to the table. So we are going to start with the person to my left, Mr. Loftus. What is your first prediction for 2022?
All right. I'm sure we've done prediction episodes before. That feels like something we've done.
Not for 2022.
We didn't do one last year.
We
didn't do one last year.
Coach, thank you.
We didn't do one last year, surprisingly.
All right. So I don't know. Like I have 5 and a bonus prediction, which is just something I hope to God comes true. But my first one, like I'm just saying, like in terms of like format, like I don't know how precise we're supposed to be. So like mine might be a little loose.
Yeah, pretty broad. We at least I've done pretty broad ones.
Yeah,
in the past.
Same.
Gotcha.
I know some people are like, I don't know. Microsoft is going to announce Halo 7 and it's going to star Master Chief and it's going to be 6.5 hours long and this is the plan. It's going to be
Okay, cool. All right, my first one, the PlayStation Game Pass equivalent will launch this year and it will be underwhelming until the 4th quarter of the year when the service will finally be what it probably should have been at launch.
Okay.
The PlayStation Game Pass equivalent will launch this year and will be underwhelming until the 4th quarter when the service will finally be what it should have been at launch.
Do you have, I mean, I know you're not like a fortune teller, but like, and this is outside of your prediction, but I mean, what do you think, I guess, will be the issue that'll make it underwhelming?
I'm guessing there's just not going to be like, for me, the big thing is like backwards compatibility, where I mean, that's like my personal thing. I don't think that really has anything to do with like the general gaming audience at large. Like, I don't think people are pissed that they can't play Lair on their PlayStation 5, but like personally, I'm like, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to play Lair on my PlayStation 5. I'm probably not going to, but like it should be there, and so I think I don't know, because I actually think PlayStation Now is like a really good service. They just don't advertise or market it at all. And so I think it's basically going to be PlayStation Now, but it's not going to be like the day and date launch success that Game Pass is. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be like a Back for Blood type haymaker on the service until the fall. Like, I think they're just going to like get it out there, basically do like alpha testing, beta testing for like the first couple months of the year from like spring until late summer. And then there's going to be like hopefully one fall title that like everyone's curious about, not sure if they want to spend their money. And then that's going to be the one they bite on. And that's going to be like the now available on PlayStation Game Pass, whatever it's called.
I am curious, because the rumor that was kind of going around was saying that they will have some sort of PS1, PS2, PS3. I mean, I'm curious if it's just going to be the cloud streaming through PS Now. And then secondly, I'm pretty sure that same exact leak claimed that PS5 games or PS4 or whatever they are, first party Sony exclusive games would not be on the system or on whatever their software is day one, like Microsoft games are on Game Pass. So that it'll be interesting to see what happens.
And especially because it said Sony games would not be on the service day one.
Right.
It didn't specify so like Rainbow Six Extraction came to Game Pass day one. There's no saying that couldn't come to like
dude.
Upcoming.
I mean,
service day one.
just imagine, and I doubt this is going to be this year, but imagine Final Fantasy 16 releases and it's on the service day one.
Yeah,
like I mean
Yeah,
that
that'd
would
be
be
huge.
awesome. So cool.
Or damn, like what about Final Fantasy Origin, whatever that one's called, the Stranger Paradise?
Strangers of Paradise, Final Fantasy
Okay.
Origin.
Also, I'm probably buying that day one. Like, I think
I
I'm
am
a Final
too.
Fantasy fan now, even though I've like never beaten one. I beat 5. That's the only Final Fantasy game I've ever beaten. But like, I think I'm a fan. I think I'm in it.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait till we play 13. Wink.
Wink.
Coach, what is your first prediction for 2022?
Okay, this is my biggest one, so I'm going to start off with the bang.
Yeah.
Damn.
The recently announced and CGI trailer for Star Wars Eclipse. At some point this year, we're going to find out that it's going to be canceled. Straight up.
Oh man, I love
that's
this.
my one.
I like
that's
it.
my one bold prediction.
That's incredible. What a moonshot, but also something I can totally freaking see happening.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
oh
it's
my
a Quantic
God.
Dream, and they've certainly had
Yeah.
their fair share of trouble. So
Yeah, Coach, is it canceled because Quantic Dream? Is it canceled because the scope and ambition is too large? Or is it canceled because no one cares about the High Republic except for me and the 12 other people reading the comic books?
A little bit of everything.
Okay.
And sprinkle everything around.
Yeah, that's right. It is
Hey,
the
I
5
like-
spices.
I like the 50
Yeah.
pages of the book that I read.
I actually finished that book. It was better than I thought it would be, but it was also like I still don't really understand the point of this existing. The comics are fine, but like the art is like mostly like, oh, it's just really cool seeing a Trandoshan Jedi. Like it's kind of my in for the whatever.
Austin, what is your first prediction?
Okay, my first one is that God of War Ragnarok will get delayed again to 2023.
That was one I almost put on. I didn't, but I almost did.
Yeah, and I was a little iffy to make this prediction. This is kind of just a bold one that I'm like, yeah, maybe it'll happen. But they showed some gameplay last year, but it's still been kind of weird because all we've gotten is that like hypercut trailer. We haven't really been shown any like true just pure gameplay that's not just a here's 4 seconds cut to another 4 seconds, here's another 4 seconds. So and especially with COVID and stuff still and people still working remotely, I feel like with how ambitious this game is, and especially knowing that, if I'm remembering correctly, I want to say Corey said that this was the like final game in like the Norse saga, which is only 2. So just knowing that, it's kind of like,
Trilogy.
well, maybe they'll take a little longer on this one.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
But I do hope it comes out this year because it's one of my most anticipated games.
For my first one, I'm going to go right along the lines of Austin, and I'm going to say Breath of the Wild 2 will get a 2023 release date.
Yeah. I think that's a very safe bet. I do not think that game is releasing this year.
I legit have the same thing.
There's a reason I did it first. I'm like, no one did it yet. I'm doing it quick.
Well, like Nintendo's no stranger to releasing like a bunch of IP in the same year, right? Like they've done that before.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But also, like, I don't know. I think they kind of want to focus on Splatoon. Like, I don't know why they'd want something else to get in the way of Splatoon this fall.
Well, that'll be in the
it's like
summer.
Split-
I think it's a summer game. Splatoon 3. I think that would be a summer game.
that's a perfect. That game has perfect summer vibes. I pictured
really
it as
does.
like an early fall game, and like unless Breath of the Wild 2 comes out like December 3rd or something, you know, like after Black Friday but before Christmas. Just because I don't know what it is. Zelda, I almost never see snow in Zelda, but man, does Zelda feel like a winter game to me. Like it was almost strange that Breath of the Wild 2 came out in the spring. Or sorry,
Bro, I
the
froze
first Breath of
my
the Wild came out in the spring.
BALLZ waiting in line to get my Switch and Breath of the Wild on March 3rd. There you go. So it was winter for us here. It was cold that night.
Okay.
Waiting in line at Best Buy. But anyways, I know what you're saying.
I'm sorry you live in a desert.
Hey, it's all right. Don't be sorry. It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, no, it snowed
That's because
4
you're
inches
out
last
there.
night. I had to shovel today. I'm so cold still. There's no heat on in my office. I can't feel my toes.
As I look back at my heater that's on.
I had to turn it off. It's so loud I can hear it on like my microphone when I when I've like recorded my own podcast. I'm like, okay, so I will not be blasting my Dyson while I record tonight. Cool.
Dyson's
So
such
yeah,
a
but
good
I
name.
do agree with Elijah. All we had was released in 2022 for Breath of the Wild 2, but
Yeah.
I honestly think this will get pushed back.
Okay,
just saying.
my question is, when they push it back, do you think it's going to be a situation with the original Breath of the Wild where they were like, hey, so we're pushing it back, and because of that, here's Twilight Princess and Wind Waker for the Switch?
Could be.
Because
God,
I
cool.
hope to God that happens.
If they bring out Twilight Princess for the Switch, I would buy that in a heartbeat.
Or like a remake of the original Legend of Zelda using the same graphic style as Link's Awakening. I could see them doing something like that where you don't have to put as much. It probably wouldn't be too difficult to port those two games over from the Wii U. But
George, what is your second prediction for the year?
My second prediction, Elden Ring will be FromSoft's second highest rated game on Metacritic. And for those keeping score, Bloodborne is number 1 at 92. Dark Souls 2 is number 2 at 91. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is number 3 at 90 on Metacritic. I think Elden Ring is going to be not as well regarded as Bloodborne, but I think it's going to be loved. I just think it's going to be their second best game.
Wait. So if it gets a 91, would that be before or after Dark Souls?
Technically after Dark Souls, because Alphabet, but I would count anything. I think it's going to be ranked above Shadows Die Twice, like Sekiro, but below Bloodborne.
Okay.
I guess is what I'm saying.
I can see that. I'm so excited for Elden Ring. It's one of my top games of the year, and there's a reason I'm not getting anything early March, because Elden Ring is going to take up all my time. I don't think it's going to get scored that high. I hope I'm wrong, but I could see high 80s.
I think they probably are doing a lot to address accessibility in this game. Right? Like they're trying to make it like a more like inviting game while still having a whole bunch of FromSoft wrinkles. And so like that's why I think it's going to rank really high, but not as high as other games they've made.
So for the same exact reason you think it's going to rank high is the part of the reason I think it's going to rank not as high.
Okay.
because they're going to be adding these new things that are going to kind of take away from some of the things that like the Dark Souls fans and like even like the people who review the games really love about like the Souls games. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope this thing scores even higher than Bloodborne. All I know is people, when they played that like network test, they were trying to get that in the Game Awards for like the voted on Game of the Year. So apparently people love it. So I'm really hoping I'm wrong. God, I can't wait for that.
Also, I gotta be honest. Does anyone here care about game scores?
No,
Not
because
so much anymore.
Frankly, after seeing Rainbow Six, it has like a 70 on Metacritic.
Yeah.
That game is just phenomenal. So that has really shown to me that it doesn't matter.
And like, I'm way more likely to buy a game if it gets a 10 or like a 6.5. Like, just out of like, like morbid curiosity. It's like the 8s and like the low 9s, high 8s that like make me think like, oh, well, like if it's good, it's gonna be good later. I can just grab it later. But like if something like tanks one way or the other, that's what makes me like way more interested in checking a game out. But like, I don't know. I like Forza got a 10 from IGN. I downloaded it. I deleted it like 2 weeks ago because I needed space on my hard drive. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't really play this. I don't really play Microsoft Flight Simulator. Like the games that I thought would be like my comfort food on my Series X. I'm like, oh, no, that's not it at all. And now I just play Halo Infinite.
The 2 games I've put the most time into this year are scored at like on Metacritic. One's a 7.0 and one's like a 7.5. And those are the games I've had the most fun playing this year. The only reason I like scores is because it's fun to do things like the Fantasy Critic League and to do stuff like this where we guess what kind of scores it's going to get. That's the only reason I like scores.
I mean, back in 2012, it was fun, right? Because as soon as the embargo lifts, everybody's review came out and we're like looking at it and stuff like that. But now I just watch gameplay footage and I look and see, is it something that I'll like?
Yeah.
Right? So like, for instance, in the last couple years, I've gotten into the newer Pokemon games. And I didn't really think that I was going to get Legends right away. But I know they didn't have a direct, but they did. Nintendo's been sending out a lot of videos in the last 2 weeks on Pokemon Legends. And I like what I see, right? And but I'll wait. I mean, I'll look at some gameplay, but I'll probably end up getting that. So the scores don't really mean much anymore like they used to.
Just wait, we'll talk more about Pokemon Legends later.
Ooh.
Coach, what is your second prediction?
Okay, so 3 years ago there was an announcement made. Do you guys remember what that announcement was?
Yeah, I thought the government was going to send me $600 more than they did.
Okay, right. So unfortunately that didn't happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 3 years ago today, Nintendo announced that Retro Studios was going to take over Metroid Prime 4, right? So we don't really know when that happened, but my prediction is this year, I don't know when, whether it's during E3 or towards that last direct, we will get a release year, and I'm saying 2023. For Metroid Prime 4.
So I have to ask, in this scenario, since Coach, we already know one of your other predictions is that Breath of the Wild is getting delayed to next year.
Right.
Do you think, and I'm not saying this sarcastically, just asking, do you think Nintendo would release both Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4 the same year?
They did that the first year. They did it with Mario and Zelda. That first year.
That was exactly what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
I could see them delaying till March 3rd or whatever that Friday is. Right?
Just hold off, Elijah. Hold on a second, buddy.
And then I'm thinking towards the end of the year would be Metroid. So, yes.
I could see that. Apparently, since we are on this topic, Austin, what is your second?
It's that Nintendo is releasing a Metroid Prime trilogy this year, and I'm going to keep guessing that every freaking year until it happens.
Honestly, I am too.
But really, we've had all these leaks and stuff for years saying that this stupid trilogy is literally just sitting there, like ready to go. And I think after the success of Dread, I mean, I'm just imagining a scenario where exactly what Coach said. Dread was so successful last year. We get the Prime Trilogy this year. We get 4 next year, or even the year after. I think would still be a great timeline. I think they need to ride this Metroid train because seeing how well Dread did last year, winning Game of the Year awards, like that hasn't happened.
Choo-choo.
So I think they need to get it out there, and I think they're going to.
I completely agree.
How much did Nintendo drop the ball by releasing Samus Returns on 3DS instead of Switch?
Very much so. I know so many people who said I would have played Samus Returns, but it was on 3DS.
I forget who the developers were. It depends who the developers were, because if they already had something set up for the 3DS, I'm trying to remember who developed it.
It was the same guys.
Well, I was going to say, wasn't that?
Yeah, it was Mercury Steam.
Mercury
right?
Steam, yeah.
Honestly, big picture, I'm okay with it. I mean, would have been nice to have Luigi's Mansion, the original one, on the Switch rather than 3DS, of course. But they still look and play good. They still do.
And I get it. It has a huge install base. So.
Yeah, but how many people bought it after the Switch released? I mean, yeah, and I did, you did, yeah. Obviously, everyone here did. We're freaking losers. Obviously, we did. But I'm just saying, man, Austin, I can totally see a Metroid Prime trilogy. I think that makes easily the most sense. But damn, dude, what about a Zero Mission, a Fusion, and a Samus Returns? What about that trilogy?
Yeah,
I guess I just don't understand what's Nintendo has such a ripe history. I don't understand what's stopping them from just milking it at this point, especially after the success of Metroid Dread.
I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, I would love to see Fusion and Zero Mission, and in fact, those are the only Metroid games I haven't really played that much because I can't play them on my Switch.
Yeah, Fusion's dope. You'd love Fusion if you like.
Yeah, and I did just buy them on the Wii U because that's the only place I can play them. So I did buy them on there for $7 each.
Good job, Nintendo. Yeah.
But anyway, no, I get where you're coming from. I just think with Prime 4 on the way, I think they're going to prioritize the trilogy. But I do hope that we get Zero Mission and Fusion, even if it's just hey, here's a $30 collection that's just ports of both of them with thematic
the way
content.
Castlevania,
right?
Mega Man, yeah,
that would be wonderful.
Also, it bears repeating. Metroid Prime, the first one, is one of the best video games I've ever played in my entire life.
So good.
That game is phenomenal. I didn't play it until 7 or 8 years after it came out. It was my sophomore year in college, and God, I wish I could go back and just be smarter with how I spend my money, because this was when GameCube games were the bargain bin at GameStop.
Oh, you can find F-Zero GX on clearance for $5 everywhere. Yeah, now it's
I remember
60.
The most expensive game I bought was Twin Snakes for $35. That was the most expensive GameCube game I bought. And I remember getting Metroid Prime for $6.99 and going back to my college dorm and just playing that game in 2 sittings because it was that mesmerizing. God, that game is so good. I never played 2. I tried to play 3, but it was just so not what I wanted with the Wii motion controls. But man, Metroid Prime 1 is special. That is put it in a vault so that when humans expire and aliens find our remains, they can hopefully play Metroid Prime, be damn, these guys were so stupid they killed themselves. But Metroid Prime was really good. I want aliens to experience that long after we're gone.
Have you seen the graphics on the Dolphin for that game?
No, I have not.
OMG. There's no remaster done. It's just on a higher powered system, right, than the GameCube. And you don't need to remake that game. Just remaster it, touch it up, and I would go in and look at some of the videos of Metroid Prime on the Dolphin, and you'll be amazed at how amazing that it looks.
Do you know what I would love to see Metroid Prime on, but it never will? For my second prediction, I predict PlayStation VR 2 will not release this year. I'd love to see Metroid Prime in VR. I think it would be
Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
Yeah. That's why it kind of fit in there. I was thinking about, man, what's that game with VR? But yeah, I think PSVR 2 will release in 2023.
God, Elijah, this, and all of you, this is the problem with like gambling in general, where like it's no fun to bet the unders, but the unders usually hit compared to like betting the overs, like in like a football game. You guys are all betting the unders, and you're going to win the predictions game because you're doing
Star Wars
it.
Eclipse will get canceled. That's not betting under.
No, that's I actually think like you're technically betting under, but I think that's technically an over. That's a great call. I
Yes,
love
yeah.
like the boldness on that swing. But PSVR 2 not releasing this year. God, I wish it would. It would
Me
be so
too.
cool. It's not going to, but it
Oh my
gotta
god,
be so good.
everything they've said about PSVR 2 is hitting so hard for me. Like, I mean, yeah, it's not wireless, which sucks, but also everything else about it just sounds amazing. And like, apparently it has stuff that the Oculus Quest doesn't have. So like, I kind of get the wired part because it's using power from the console in that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just
Well,
so
it'll be a
excited.
constant war though, Elijah, because there's a new Oculus coming out this year that has a lot more than the PSVR has. So I think
Yeah,
it's just
but
a matter
it's
of the back and forth.
yeah, but it's corded.
yeah,
It's
right,
corded. It's not a wireless. That's what I'm saying.
right.
Quest
Yeah.
is wireless, and
Yeah.
people wanted the PSVR to be wireless, but it
Oh,
has a
yeah,
lot more
I
stuff
mean-
than the Quest has.
Right.
So that's why I get the corded part.
Yeah, we forgot to do this for game of the year stuff, but like I bought the Medal of Honor game on Oculus, and I should have given that game like worst game I played this year. That game is garbage on Oculus. That is like one of the worst video game experiences I can remember having in the past couple of years.
That's fun. You know what you
Do
didn't
you
get on
see-
Oculus? Resident Evil 4. Which I
Or
hear
the
is
Lady
amazing.
Gaga pack for Beat Saber, unfortunately.
Oh my god, it's so fun.
Okay.
Anyhow, Coach, yes?
Do you see? I mean, who would Nintendo need to partner with so they could get their software like on Quest? How awesome would that be? Right?
That'd be awesome.
I know
but
it will
think
never
that'll ever
happen.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Nintendo will ever get into the VR market, right?
Don't forget, you can play Breath of the Wild in VR. I'll never stop saying that, even though it's the worst way to ever play VR.
In VR cardboard, yeah, in like 25 frames a second, and people were like throwing up because they were so sick of it. Yeah, crazy. No, I guess I'm excited for PSVR 2. I don't know. I'm curious. I know we got that confirmation about that Horizon game, and I'm sure we'll get some stuff. Like, I guarantee you, there's going to be an update for Gran Turismo 7 that's adds in VR support. I'm just curious, like, if they're going to kind of be able to pull the steam away from Oculus, though. Like, I mean, the Quest is selling like hotcakes, and nothing else is. I mean, they couldn't get the Rift to sell like they wanted to. The Vive does not sell like anywhere close to the Quest. So I'm just curious, like, I think the reason for that, honestly, is the price point. I'm curious how much this thing is going to be.
It's the mixture of the price point, and also I think you don't need like a high-end PC. Because at the time when the Rift was first coming out in that, you needed like a $1,000 to $1,500 PC in order to play them. That has drastically reduced now. But at the time, it was that high price point of entry, then the price of the Rift, of the Rift itself. And that's what made it so troublesome.
And I saw so many videos of grandparents playing their child's Oculus, right? Where they're just falling over.
The holidays.
Yeah. Yep. So the thing is, I think with the Quest, the reason why it did so well is one is the ease of use, right? It really wasn't that difficult to get games and to get it going. So kind of like the whole Apple type of thing, right? Where it was all just user-based, user-friendly. Everything was user-friendly with Macintosh. And then the price point, and then games still look good, even though it might not be, because I have the original Oculus, but playing Vader Immortal, it scared the bejeebus out of me, but it looks so phenomenal, and it's just something like, it works. When I say it works, I don't feel in this reality. I feel in that reality. And when you could do that at that price point, Yeah, that's a win-win. Now, what's coming out this year? Is it the Quest 3 or is it just something else?
It's just like a Rift
it doesn't have a
Pro
name yet.
type thing.
It doesn't have a name yet.
I remember when I was researching, should I get the Rift or the Quest? Right now, I'm glad I went with the Quest.
Oh, yeah. George, what is your third prediction for the year?
2 new Marvel IPs will be announced this year. One for PlayStation and one for Xbox. I've been thinking about Marvel a lot lately. We talked about it a bunch. I'm sorry for beating a dead horse, but short box summary. Like I feel like a scholar at this point in Marvel. Like just feel like I've got like a little like graduate degree in Marvel, and all I can think about is early like Y2K Marvel. I think there's going to be some property revivals. I think Sony, based on their success with Spider-Man, and based on their promised success, right? Like or expectational success with Wolverine, I think they're going to get like another property. I think it's going to be probably not like what we expect. Like I think it's going to be not necessarily like a strategy game like Midnight Suns, but like I think there's going to be something from Marvel, from PlayStation. And I think with this movement that Microsoft made towards Activision, I think there has to be something from Microsoft. I think they have too many talented development teams to not persuade Marvel. Like, give us one license, give us the Blade license, you know, like give us something that we can give us something that we can do. Like, I don't know, like you look at a game like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and it's just like, yeah, the way they deal with mental illness in that game, and it's just like, well, like there isn't a single Marvel character that isn't traumatized, you know. And it's like, oh, this is like a maturity in storytelling that, like, yeah, like it is available on PlayStation, but it's just different over Microsoft, you know. Like it's something slightly not what we have experienced in the past couple of years. And so I think there's a good chance that we're getting 2 new exclusives this year, one for each of the big 2. No offense to Nintendo, I got something for you later in a prediction, don't worry.
I like it. Coach, what is your third prediction?
Okay, it's kind of similar to Austin's last one. Okay, so I'm saying instead of the trilogy, I'm saying Metroid Prime 1 will get a remaster this year. Just the first one. Similar to what they did with Gears, and then eventually we'll get 2 and 3, Prime 2 and Prime 3, through the virtual console at some point whenever they do GameCube and Wii games.
That's an interesting point. I wouldn't have thought about that.
They're never going to do GameCube and Wii games. They're never going to do it.
Okay,
sorry.
that's
like
another bold
I mean, like, how long did it take them to get Wii games on the Wii U, and then they just like stopped? Like,
oh, dude, like that 6, was like,
and then they just stopped.
That was like the last year of its life. Yeah. That was so weird.
No, we'll get Wii U. We'll get Wii and GameCube games on like the Switch 2, maybe the Switch 3. And like, there's nothing I want more than all those games to come to Switch. But I just
you mean the Switch with the like a 3 instead of the
Switch. Sorry, I don't mean to like take the air out of your balloon there, Coach, but like I think like that is like my favorite prediction of the episode yet, is like just like putting all your eggs in the Metroid 1 basket. But man, they're never going to give us GameCube games. You know why? Because we want them so bad. Like they don't want to bring us joy.
Right. No, I get you, but
they just want to hurt us.
I got a fun fact.
Ooh.
I was it Target? Yeah, I was in Target the other day, and they're still selling copies of Mario 3D All-Stars, believe it or not. It's
really?
You can still go in the store and purchase it. Yep. Still out there. So for those of you that...
It's very, very limited and rare, as Nintendo told us.
Yes.
Austin, what is your third prediction?
All right. So my third one is actually kind of just more wishful thinking, but my prediction is Atlas is going to release Persona 4 Golden on Switch, and still not Persona 5.
Ooh.
They announced obviously Persona 4 Arena Ultimax is coming to the Switch and PS4 and Xbox, if I'm not mistaken, in a couple months. It's like might be March, April.
I think next month.
Really? Okay.
I think.
So they announced that a couple months ago at I think it was the Game Awards. They announced that and of course Persona 4 Golden was only on Vita originally, but they did bring it to Steam maybe a little less than 2 years ago now, if I'm remembering correctly. And just with it being on Steam and seeing Atlas kind of support the Switch a little more, at least we got Catherine, and we're now getting Persona 4 Arena Ultimax on Switch. I think this is one they're going to bring out.
Persona 5 Strikers.
That's true. Persona 5 Strikers. I forgot about that one too.
When are we getting that?
Persona 4 Golden?
No, the Strikers.
It's out.
It's out.
For US?
Yeah.
It's been out for like a year.
I didn't know that. That's the one that's made by
Omega Force.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was day and date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on PlayStation Plus right now for PS4. So
yeah.
How is it? How does it play? Does it play like Dynasty
I haven't
Warriors?
played it, but I my understanding is it's a little different. I think it's a little slower. Elijah, you might know more than me. I'm not sure.
I haven't played too much. All I know is everyone that I know that's played it has loved the gameplay of it. It apparently does a very good job of blending the warrior style gameplay with Persona like implements to it.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
my buddy Marty absolutely loves it.
Also, Arena Ultimax comes out March 17th.
Okay.
Ooh.
My third prediction, you know what? I'm going to do this one next. PlayStation will not purchase a developer in 2022.
Talk about under, George.
Take note. I did not say a studio or a team. I specified a developer because everybody thinks they are going to. And I don't think they will.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think of like teams that they work with, and there were just none that really came to mind that they would buy, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny though. I was thinking about putting in a prediction that was going to be like Microsoft is going to buy Sega. Or something like that, just to have some fun, but I did not do that.
Okay, my next two are really fun. I'm excited.
Hey, Elijah, can you do me a favor? Can you ask me what my next prediction is?
What's your next prediction?
Sony will acquire a Japanese third-party publisher or a major stake in it, and it will be a bigger deal than Microsoft and Activision Blizzard.
Bro,
a bigger deal. What does that mean, George? Like financially, or
well, no, it's one of those things where like
nothing is a bigger deal financially. That was the largest cash deal in US history.
Okay, yeah, but like I understand that. And like granted, I'm not a PC gamer. I genuinely think they really did this to bolster like PC Game Pass, because like you get the entire BattleNet suite of games. Like that's huge for Game Pass, right? And also like it probably like it gives them like a new like proprietary software to run, right? Like almost like a Steam competitor. Yeah. It's like that's a huge purchase for PCs. That said, like I don't know, like I still like despite all the marketing, I still think of like Call of Duty as like an Xbox title, you know? I still think of Overwatch as like an Xbox title because like just with the ubiquity of Xbox Live. Like I just think of those games. So like I don't think it was like that big of a move for consoles. I think it was a big move for PC. The more I've had time to ruminate on it. That said, like I don't know if it's Capcom, I don't know if it's like Square Enix. I don't know what it's going to be. But I think there's going to be like have you guys ever played Civilization?
Yeah.
You know when like a different civilization comes to you and it's just like we are great allies. We should like do like a scientific progress like thing together where like you each spend like 200 gold and for 30 turns like your science improves or whatever. Like I think there's going to be something like that happens between Sony and some other publisher, like whether it's Capcom, Square Enix, or maybe even Sega. Like I think there's going to be some sort of like shoring the forces against Microsoft. And again, like we talked about the end of the podcast when we were talking about Activision Blizzard acquisition. But it's like Sony has to make a move, not because they have to, but because Microsoft could. Like it's like purely defensive, where it's like it's getting to the point where like, okay, so what third-party games are going to come out on PlayStation now? And I think there's a really good chance that like the Japanese studios will be like, no, like we're not going to let Microsoft, like we're not going to let this kind of involvement like take over Japanese game development. And so there's going to be like a Magna Carta almost of like Japanese game game developers being like, no, we want this on as many platforms as possible, but we're going to give preferential treatment to Sony because they have never put us in this type of situation.
I think this would be interesting. I don't think they'll buy them, but obviously there have been rumors going around for a while that Sony and Konami are kind of like in cahoots.
In cahoots. Oh, I was hoping
Yeah.
you would say cahoots.
Perfect.
I said acquire a third-party publisher or a major stake in them.
Yeah.
So like, again, like not necessarily like a takeover or like an acquisition,
But a
but like I think
partnership,
there's going to
right.
be exactly,
Well-
like a new announcement of friendship and prosperity between
Yeah.
Sony and Japanese developers in particular.
I honestly think of everyone, I think Konami is the most likely because I think that Sony sees the value in those IPs that Konami does not see currently. Obviously, I mean,
That's a great call.
we've gotten nothing from them, and Konami at this point is primarily a pachinko company. They don't really
Oh my
Literally,
God,
anything
can you-
else.
Also, wait, can you imagine like what if Sony got like the Castlevania license and then hired FromSoft to make like a Castlevania game?
I've
Yeah.
I've dreamt of that for
Yeah.
years. Yeah. The only thing we have coming out of Konami even remotely recently were the new free to play Yu-Gi-Oh game and Bloober Team teamed with Konami. That's literally all we've
Yeah.
heard from Konami.
And like
here.
the ports of like the Castlevania Advance
yeah.
titles. That's like they're
Which is really cool. Like I don't
No,
want to
it is
diminish
cool.
that,
It is
but,
cool.
Like that's really
but it's-
cool.
but it's not a new game.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Coach, what is your fourth prediction?
All right, so my fourth, okay. Besides Breath of the Wild 2 be pushed back, that was going to be one of them. But my last prediction, I'll think of one in the next 5 minutes to add to the fifth, is Star Wars Rogue Squadron will get a release on the Nintendo Switch Online Virtual Console this year.
For the
Hell yeah.
N64 expansion pack stuff.
Yes,
That'd be awesome.
yes.
Yeah. 'Cause
And
I've
if they
never
do
played
that, then I'm sure Battle for Naboo would also be put in there as well. But yeah, Star Wars Rogue Squadron will get a release on the Nintendo Switch Online N64 expansion pack.
I
in
love it.
2022.
That's a great call. Star Wars has a weird relationship with Nintendo, right? Like, didn't the Episode 1 Racer came to Switch before it came to PS4, right?
Yes.
Like all those games, and like
It
there's
came to
no way.
Dreamcast after
and
the 64, I believe.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the digital versions, like most recently.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm pretty sure like Knights of the Republic is playable on everything except for PlayStation. Like you can play it on Switch, but you can't play it on yeah, there's such a
Really?
weird relationship
Yeah.
between Lucas and Switch there. Yeah.
Huh.
You can play it
I
on
didn't know that.
Xbox because of the backwards compatibility, but
Yeah.
they released it digitally on Switch.
Yeah, I figured that was just on everything, like
Mm-mm.
like the other ones were. That's crazy. I didn't know that.
No, and it took a minute for Republic Commando and Episode 1 Racer to come to PlayStation. Like they went to Switch, I think, for like a month before they went to
Mhm.
PlayStation. So like that's a great call, Coach. I'm jealous. I wish I thought of that one. That's really good.
Austin, what is your fourth prediction?
So we were talking about 2 minutes and 30 seconds ago about Konami. And I do think that Blue Point is going to announce a Metal Gear Solid remake this year. I really do think it's going to happen. Blue Point had been teasing something Metal Gear related like years ago, like 3-4 years ago.
Are you talking about their
Um,
Halloween post?
Yeah, yeah.
They
so-
also
Yeah.
they also teased Silent Hill
Yeah.
and Castlevania.
Yeah. So obviously there's maybe something going on with Konami and Blue Point, and we've had those rumors about Metal Gear, and I really do think they're going to do it. And I mean, it'd be excellent. I think it'd be a great way to bring back that franchise and
So much, yes.
make work of Konami's just forgotten child.
I love it so much. For my fourth, I'm going to save my spiciest till last. Nintendo will announce 2 new Kirby things for the 30th anniversary. And I say that because, like, you know, for the Legend of Zelda one and the Mario ones, we got the Game & Watches. So 2 new Zelda or Kirby things like that. Maybe one is, a handheld little thing like that. Maybe one is just a new game, just like a tease after Kirby and the Forgotten Land, after that comes out. Maybe one is like one of those Kirby, kind of like the Mario 35 or Tetris 99 things. But 2 new Kirby things are going to be announced.
We need a Kirby All-Stars, man. Like, those games are, like, really good. Like, I understand they're not as complicated as, like, the more beloved Nintendo games, but, like, Kirby games are really, really good.
Yeah, well, if they did anything Kirby this year, Elijah, that would be more than Nintendo did last year for Zelda. So
Yeah.
Which honestly wouldn't put it past them. I bet. I think you're right. I bet we will see some Kirby stuff.
Well, I did see.
We got 2 Zelda things
yesterday. I think it was yesterday. I did see something where they might announce like a new Kirby game, something like that.
So you're talking about the magazine article that when it was transcribed, it basically sounded like a run-on sentence of, man, we love Kirby and can't wait to announce a new game and look at this new thing. And it was like a run-on sentence of different things, but with no period in the middle. So it's kind of like, does that mean a new Kirby game or just a new game is being announced? Or because I remember seeing about it and it's like, it was very unclear. I know exactly what you were talking about. George, what is your 5th and final prediction?
Well, I got a 5th prediction, and then I got like a general hope. So I guess I'll save that general hope for the end of the conversation. But
help me, George, you and Kenobi, you're my only hope.
My 5th prediction. Again, I'm sorry, guys, but so much work has been going into Shortbox Summary, reading old comics. That's all I can think about is Marvel stuff. X-Men Legends, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Spider-Man 2, and other Activision-produced Marvel games will be re-released on Xbox and probably Nintendo consoles. I think with Spider-Man No Way Home, like all of a sudden there's like a revitalization of like the Tobey Maguire properties. All of a sudden, all these old games are not irrelevant anymore. They have not been erased by Tom Holland. In fact, they have been reinforced by Tom Holland, hanging out with Andrew Garfield, hanging out with Tobey Maguire. All these games are brand new again. And so I think Sony's releasing Spider-Man 2. Guess what? So is Microsoft. The 2004 Spider-Man 2, but they're releasing Spider-Man 2 as well. And also, they're just so chummy with Nintendo, man. I gotta throw them a bone. I think, like, especially X-Men Legends in particular, I could see being like, okay, we'll throw you like one little like dungeon crawling RPG. But yeah, I think these games are all of a sudden going to have a second life. I think we're going to see, ideally, Ultimate Spider-Man, ideally Spider-Man 2, ideally X-Men Legends 1 and 2, hopefully Marvel Nemesis The Imperfects. And then I think it gets a little dicey after that. Like, I don't think we're going to see X-Men Academy. I don't think we're going to see random offshoots like that. But I think there's a good chance we're going to see some Marvel properties revitalized.
I really hope they can get those Marvel rights back and do that.
Yeah, and I'm so pissed that I'll never get a freaking platinum in X-Men Legends because that's all I've ever wanted since I found out about trophies. But I will take a way to play them that's more convenient than dusting off my GameCube and playing it that way.
That's fair. Coach, What is your last prediction?
Okay, so my last prediction is with my prediction of Breath of the Wild not releasing until next year. I'm predicting that at holiday time, not specific to holiday time, I mean, it could come out, but some point this year, instead of getting Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD remasters, okay, I'm saying we're going to get Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons.
That would be neat.
And a full-on remake like they did with Link's Awakening.
In that same engine? That makes perfect sense. That would be dope. That'd be super smart.
Yeah, and that team has made pretty quick turnarounds before. I mean, they did A Link Between Worlds, Triforce Heroes, and then Link's Awakening, like all in the span of, I want to say, like 5 years.
Oh wow!
So I wouldn't put them past them. I mean, this would be Link's Awakening was 2019, so this would be 3 years that Grezzo has had to work on something. So yeah, I would not be surprised whatsoever.
I like it. Austin, what's your final prediction?
Okay, I'm going with a fun one here. Everybody strap in.
We're strapped.
Elijah does, in fact, beat 52 games this year. Actually, he surpasses 60 games.
I love it.
My faith is in you, Elijah. This is all running on you, so you better beat 60 games.
I got you.
We were all making fun of him when he made that prediction at the start, but now, I mean, we're a few weeks in, and he's lived up to the promise so far. So I'm convinced that he's going to be able to do it.
I'm at 4 games so far.
Well, hey, I thought I could do it. I made my backlog quest log blog. I'm still really proud of that name. And I want to do the 52 game project where I beat a game a week and write like a review on it each week. Man, I got the first like 16 down, and then just got punched in the face by a bad case of depression, got kicked in the nards by a bad case of anxiety, and then I also just didn't want to keep doing it. So it's tough. It's an uphill battle, but God, if anyone can do it, it's our own Elijah Loco Lizard Man Steel.
I would say one of the big things that helps me is I have a bunch of shorter games I want to play. Like a lot of the FMV games are like 2 to 3 hours long, and that's like the platinum.
Oh, baby, you think I didn't pad my stats? You think I didn't play Coming Out Simulator? You think I didn't play Emily Is Away? Yeah, I played short games. It's
I've two Emily Is Away games
got
to play
to me.
as well.
I got the yips by week 18. It broke me, Elijah. It's a lot to ask of a person. But damn, if anyone can do it, it's you, Boopy. I believe in you.
I got you.
I believe in you too, Elijah, which is why I made that prediction. So good luck.
And I didn't. So obviously Austin believes in you more than I do. Yeah.
My final prediction to bring up the rear, I said we'd be coming back to it. Pokemon Legends Arceus will be one of the top 5 reviewed games of the year, according to Metacritic.
So that means it's going to have like a 98, 99, 97.
I think above a 95, yeah.
Definitely. So it'll be interesting to see.
We'll find out shortly.
Reviews will be coming out. Yep, this week.
Well,
75.
Just Rainbow Six Extraction.
Is everyone here grabbing Arceus when it comes out?
Yes.
3 of us are.
3 of us are. Austin, you're not.
No, I want it, but I just have so many games to play right now that I really can't commit to
fair enough.
And frankly, I mean, I'm excited for it. I'm curious to see what they do, but I've totally fallen off the Pokemon bandwagon since, I guess, Omega Ruby would be the last one I really played.
Oh man, Shield really Shield really broke me. Shield I thought was like kind of a bad game.
You know what's funny is I loved it. Like that was my first game I beat was Let's Go Eevee. And then Sword and Shield was the first mainline game that I beat, a Pokemon game. So I'm fired up to see if this year they're going to release the second Let's Go that's in the second region, which is Pokemon Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
What region's that called?
That was Johto.
Yep.
Johto. Yeah.
Pokemon Johto.
God, that'd be dope. I want them to release one of those games every other year, by the way. I want them to do a Let's Go, specifically Let's Go, because that game took out so much stress of the original games. And like it makes replaying them more fun because you don't have to just like sit there and do like battle grinding. Like those games are great for just like casual revisiting those old places. I've got one final 6 prediction / hope that I want you guys to think on. There will be a public backlash to games that feel like work with constant grinding, and that trend will start to slow down / reverse by the end of the year.
And it will start with Dying Light 2 because it's already started.
I love the rollback they've had on that. It's a 500-hour game. It's like, well, actually, it's 500 hours to hear every line of dialogue for every possible dialogue tree with every possible character. Really, the main story will take about 25 hours. It's like, oh, congratulations. you're a normal game. Like, you're a normal single player game.
Could have said that
Thanks, guys.
beforehand. Yeah.
Yeah, you had to start with 500 hours. Cool. Glad we worked you down. Games are getting too much. Like, it's one of those things where, like, this is supposed to be escapism. Please don't make me feel like I have a second job. And, like, that is, like, kind of why I stopped playing. Like, I love the way shooting guns feels in The Division. I love the way it feels in The Division, too. But, man, I'm not going to check in for dailies. You know why? Because I got to do work dailies. I got to check my email dailies. I got to pay bills dailies. So, like, please don't, like, make this, like, make this so far removed from my real life that I don't feel an obligation to do it. I feel a desire to do it. And so I just want that to come from games. Like, I understand the trend of, like, Halo Infinite having, like, okay, your first, like, 5 matches you do. Like, I get it, but also it's like, maybe you don't make it be such a pain in the ass to play your game. You know, like, I'm not saying give everything away to everyone, but, like, there has to be a better way than what we're doing right now. Like, I feel like it's like a chore to play your game, and I don't want to feel that way.
Yeah.
But you're making me feel that way.
Well, I mean, I have that same issue, not just with multiplayer stuff, though. It's like the scope and size of games for me, it's like kind of becoming a problem. And admittedly, it's because of my lifestyle. Like, the only game I've been playing aside from Rainbow Six Extraction since the beginning of this year is Skyward Sword, and I'm only 14 hours in. So in the past 3 weeks, I've played like 20 hours of video games, and that's just me. You know, I don't really have too much time to just sit there and game. But just on the topic of Halo, it's like I think about that game, and honestly, I kind of think, even though I was really highly reviewing it when it came out, I kind of think I don't like that game because of the way it's set up, and it's just the constant, go do this, go do this, go do this, and it's like, no, I actually kind of just want to, like, enjoy like a 7-8 hour story and not do all these checkpoints on a map.
That's why a lot of times it's hard for me to get into open world games, because as much as I may enjoy the game, I feel like half my time is spent just running from point A to point B, and that's when the actual gameplay will start.
Yeah.
And
like honestly, Elijah, for years I didn't understand that complaint from you. I I thought you just really genuinely hated open world games for no reason, but I 100% see it now. I mean, the less time I've had, the less motivated I've been to play games of that style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which by the way, Guardians of the Galaxy, 15-hour game,
and
awesome,
pure story based, mission based. That I love that game, and that was part of the reason.
When I was in Saudi Arabia, you know, getting into the open world of Breath of the Wild, like I couldn't wait to get back into it. Right, I would wake up early before my shift started and played. Get home after working out, I would play for 2 or 3 hours, and before you know it, I think I'm at 300 hours just being in that world. Like, I love just being in that world, but I also get what you guys are saying too, where you have to do all these side objectives, and it's a daunting task knowing that a game is 25 to 30 hours, right? Because once you have to stop for a while, it's hard to get back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like, you know, I have 16 to 18 hours into Rainbow Six Extraction, but I feel like I've been doing stuff the entire time. It's not like I've been like, 3 hours of that is me going from I finished a mission. Okay, now I need to get to another one, and that's like I like that game partly because I feel like I've actually played those 16 hours. It's not part of that time was just spent going somewhere.
Yeah, well, and it's easy to drop in and out, and I mean, it's fun with friends, and that's the kind of stuff I've really been enjoying recently, honestly.
Yeah,
and games like platformers, you know, like, for instance, Tropical Freeze, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to spend a lot of time to get, you know, to get, you could drop in, play a level or two, and then go on with your day, right?
Yep.
And you're still making progress. And that's the type of game where if you don't play it for a couple weeks, there's no real story that you might forget, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
but, there's no real story, and it's easy to just drop in. Like, it's not like, man, I haven't played in a while, and then you get in, and then the time spent, to go back to open world games, like,
Yeah.
all right, now I need to get to the next mission. You spend 20 minutes doing that, and it's like, well, I need to get off now, and I didn't actually do anything.
I had to do that with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I had to do that with Spider-Man. I got about 6 hours, maybe 5 to 6 hours in, and then I stopped for a while because I think I had training or something like that. And then last quarter of last year, I got back into it, but I started all over again. And then I got the damn bug for that game, and I just couldn't put it down. Yeah.
I get I think every game starts as a 10 once you start playing it. And I don't mean 10 as in it's perfect. I mean 10 as in like this is the most I could possibly enjoy what I'm about to do. Like you're always eager. Like no one's like bummed they have to play a game, like, right? Like that's not why we do it. But it's one of those things where like the less the game like lets me play, like if a game starts with like a 6-minute cinematic, I automatically give it like, okay, this game is starting at a B- right now. Like this is not why I put a disc into my PlayStation. I put a disc into my PlayStation so I could like press buttons and interact and be like wowed, And it's just like so weird that so many games like go out of their way to tell instead of show. And I feel like we're getting a little bit away from that. And like certain games do a really good job of showing instead of telling you. But so many games also just get caught up in the trap of, let me explain to you why this is epic, as opposed to showing me why this is epic. And like, I think like Coach, like Tropical Freeze, like a perfect job of just being like, yeah, this game's like really hard and complicated. Let me show you how hard and complicated it is. And then it just lets you figure it out from like the first screen,
Well, that's it for us tonight. Thank you for joining us on this predictions episode. At the beginning of next year, we will find out how we all did. Remember, if you would like to ask us a question, you can ask us at frameskippod on Twitter. Right? Okay. Sure. Or at bit.ly/frameskipq. You can find Austin on Twitter at Austin J. Eller. Find George on Twitter at PurpleBird616. Also find his podcast, Short Box Summary, wherever you can find podcasts. I searched for us, or I searched for George, and it came up right next to us, and it made me so happy. You can find me on Twitter at LocoLizardman, and find me on Twitch at LocoLizardman. This is the day or weekend the podcast comes out. Friday night, it sounds like we're going to be teaming up for some Rainbow Six Extraction. And Saturday and Sunday will probably be Pokemon Legends. Boys, do you have anything to say before we head out for the evening?
Nothing at all, except for George is frozen for me, and he looks very happy. So thank you for the cheerful face, George.
I'll tell you what I tell my students at the end of every day or at the end of every class period. Go out, break necks, and destroy dreams.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
When
That's
things
violent.
get grim, be the Grim Reaper.
There you go.
Good night, listeners. Good night.
Or good morning.
Or good afternoon.
Your choice.
Buenos tardes.